At 9:12 on a Wednesday morning, a cargo ship exploded with such force that its steel tore through an entire city. The blast killed firefighters where they stood, flattened the waterfront, and launched a 2-ton anchor more than a mile away. But the deadliest industrial disaster in American history did not arrive without warning. The warnings were there, in the cargo, in the smoke, in the crowded docks, and in every decision that treated fertilizer as harmless. Texas City, Texas, in 1947 was a post-war boomtown built around a busy port and a dense belt of oil tanks and chemical plants. Ships, railcars, warehouses, factories, and neighborhoods pressed close together along Galveston Bay. That concentration made the city prosperous. It also meant that a fire at one berth could threaten almost everything around it. On April 11, the French freighter Grand Camp arrived to load ammonium nitrate fertilizer for Europe. The chemical helped feed crops, and the post-war world needed it. But ammonium nitrate is also a powerful oxidizer. It can intensify a fire, and under heat, contamination, and confinement, a large mass can detonate. About 2,300 tons were loaded aboard Grand Camp in paper sacks. The fertilizer was not treated under the rules used for explosives. It sat beside ordinary cargo, including tobacco, twine, and peanuts. The Coast Guard investigation later described the material as coated with combustible substances to resist moisture. Each detail seemed manageable by itself. Together, inside a steel ship, they created a dangerous system. Shortly after 8 in the morning on April 16, workers noticed smoke rising from hold number 4. They tried portable extinguishers. The smoke disappeared, then returned from another opening. Small flames appeared. The fire was moving through the cargo. The ship's alarm sounded. Texas City's volunteer fire department raced to the pier. But one crucial decision had already narrowed their options. The ship's crew did not flood the hold with water. They feared water would damage the valuable cargo. Instead, they closed the hatches and introduced steam, hoping to smother the fire. That choice protected the shipment before it protected the city. It also trapped heat and gases inside the hold. As the temperature rose, the chemical reaction accelerated. The smoke changed. Witnesses saw a dense yellow-orange plume, the color associated with nitrogen dioxide, a decomposition product, and a stark chemical warning. The plume was visible across town. It drew workers, schoolchildren, and families toward the waterfront to watch. Nobody established a wide evacuation zone. Nearby plants kept operating. Railcars, oil tanks, warehouses, and another cargo ship remained within reach of whatever came next. The fire department attacked the blaze from the dock, directly beside the hull. At 9:12 a.m., Grand Camp detonated. The ship disintegrated. A pressure wave swept across the port and into the city. Aircraft overhead were damaged. Windows shattered miles away. Burning fragments rained onto tank farms and industrial buildings. The Monsanto chemical plant beside the slip was devastated. Nearly the entire Texas City volunteer fire department was killed in an instant. The waterfront became a chain of fires. Hundreds were dead or missing, thousands were injured. With the local hospital damaged and overwhelmed, City Hall and other buildings became emergency treatment centers. Rescue crews arrived from Galveston, Houston, military installations, and communities across the region. But the disaster was not finished. In the adjacent slip, the blast tore the freighter High Flyer from her moorings and pushed her against another ship, Wilson B. Keene. High Flyer carried roughly another 1,000 tons of ammonium nitrate, along with a much larger cargo of sulfur. Fires burned aboard her while crews tried to move the ship away from the docks. They could not free her in time. At about 1:10 the next morning, roughly 16 hours after Grand Camp exploded, High Flyer detonated. The second blast destroyed both ships and spread more wreckage through the already shattered port. At least 581 people died in the Texas City disaster, though the precise total may never be known. Thousands were injured. The physical losses ran into tens of millions of $1,947. It remains one of the deadliest industrial accidents in United States history. It is tempting to call the explosion unforeseeable because ammonium nitrate looked ordinary. It was fertilizer, packed in paper bags, shipped to help rebuild farms. Yet the hazard was not unknowable. The material supported combustion. Large quantities were confined in ship holds. Combustible coatings and mixed cargo surrounded it. Dense industry and the public stood only yards away. The orange smoke announced that the cargo was decomposing under severe heat. The decisive failure was not one villain or one broken part. It was a chain of assumptions. The fertilizer was assumed to be safe because regulations did not call it an explosive. The cargo was assumed worth protecting from water. Steam was assumed able to smother a fire hidden deep in the hold. The crowd was assumed to be far enough away. The neighboring ships and chemical plants were assumed to be separate problems. The blast proved they were one problem. After Texas City, federal investigators studied ammonium nitrate under fire, heat, contamination, and confinement. The Coast Guard tightened requirements for notification, handling, stowage, and firefighting. Later guidance stressed water, large amounts of it, and warned against using steam to fight an ammonium nitrate fire in a confined space. The disaster also changed American law. Families and businesses sought compensation from the federal government over the manufacture and handling of the fertilizer. Their case reached the Supreme Court and became a major test of government liability under the Federal Tort Claims Act. The legal outcome was complicated, but the public record made the institutional failures impossible to dismiss as bad luck. Texas City rebuilt. The port reopened. Industry returned. At a memorial park, the Grand Camp's recovered anchor still stands as a piece of the ship that vanished. The anchor is dramatic. The more important evidence is quieter: paper sacks marked as fertilizer, a closed hatch, steam lines, orange smoke, spectators at the dock, and another loaded ship only one slip away. None of those details caused the catastrophe alone. Together, they formed a warning system. People saw the signals, but the system did not act on what they meant. That is how preventable disasters grow. Not from one impossible surprise, but from ordinary risks accepted one at a time, until the moment they connect. Texas City did not explode without warning. The warnings were there.